Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Says the Mishnah, all the way in the bottom of the Tzadik Gimel and Beis, brand new Mishnah. Chomer b'smicha mebitnuva. So we discussed smicha means to lean on the animal, and tnuva means to wave the animal, lift him up and wave. There's two different things. There's certain chumras that you have in a smicha, and certain chumras you have in a tnuva. That what? 3 lines from the bottom. When it comes to tnufa, it's enough that one person does it for the whole crew, for all the partners. Whereas smicha, we said yesterday, each and every person, it says karbanai, we learned each and every person must do the smicha. And chomer b'tnufa, and what's the chomer that tnufa has that smicha does not? Shat tnufa noheges b'karbanis hayachid u'b'karbanis hatzibur. You have to do it in all types of karbanis. Karban yachid, for instance, the shlamim. So here's a picture that we showed yesterday. The shlamim tnufa, the chazan and the shaykh. But you also have the tzibur tnufa. This is tzibur tnufa. What is this? This is the shtei halechem with the shalmei, what do they call shalmei tzibur? The two sheep that we bring on Shavuos coming up. Shleishim yom kodem l'chag. Mamish. What? Oh, that's the yeah. We'll get to it. coming up soon. That tnufa. Oh, you do tnufa when the animal's alive. And you do tnufa when the animal's dead. I just showed you. This one is pretty dead, I think. This guy is dead. Where do we do tnufa with something that's not alive, that was never alive? Here, in this picture, the bread. The lachmei toida, you have to do tnufa. Smicha, you don't do smicha when the animal's dead. Which the Gemara is going to have a kasha on. Then in fact we see that there are times that you do smicha when the animal's dead. Tana Rabban. Karbanoi l'rabbis kol bali karban l'smicha. Karbanoi, by Shlamim it says the word karbanoi, comes to include all the owners must do smicha. Sheyachal v'aloidinu, I would think, maybe it's a kavachomer, simple kavachomer. Mat nufa shenisrabsa b'shchutim. Nufa, you have to do even after the animal's dead sometimes. Nismata b'chayvarin. There's no nufa when you have partners. Smicha shenisrabsa b'shchutim. Enudin shenismata b'chayvarin. So smicha that you don't do smicha on a dead animal. So certainly you shouldn't do it when there's partners. Tamaloi karbanai. The rabbis call bali karban smicha that all the partners must do smicha. 10 partners, each one comes over, leans on it, and goes away. The next one. Says the Gemara, but this rabbit nufa b'chayvar mikavachayim. You should do tnufa when you have a bunch of partners. They should all take it, like sometimes you do in shul. Take a lulav, and then you say, "Could I borrow you a lulav?" And the next guy does. And each guy should shake it. That's tnufa. The shaking. We learn the shaking of a lulav from tnufa. So just like by a lulav, everybody should do tnufa. What's the kavachomer? Simple kavachomer. Smicha, you don't do it when the animal's dead, but you do it when there's partners. So certainly tnufa that you do it when it's shachat. Certainly you should do it when there's partners. Tnufa shenisrabes b'shchutim, in addition shenisrabes b'chayvar. Says the Gemara, it's impossible. How are you going to do it? You have 20 partners. They can't all touch the animal. There's going to be a big problem with chatzitza. Here, check this out. We have a gishmak, a picture for that. If they're all going to do tnufa, somebody's hands have going to be under the other person's head. And each person must be touching the animal. Otherwise, it's chatzitza. So, Rashi asks a great question. The question is easier to understand than the answer. But Rashi says, 3 lines from the top, Vikashya, Hamrina, and everybody remembers. We had a few times that the owners, the kohen's hand is under the Yisrael's hand, and sometimes we even said, "I'll remind the Olam by a saita, by a woman." And Tosis asks the guy, how could a man touch a woman? So this is the old man. Bring an old kohen or bring a little kid. But the bottom line is, sometimes the kohen's hand is underneath the owner's hand, and it's not touching the animal. So it's chatzitza. Asks Rashi. Tosis also talks about it. So Rashi says an interesting answer that the kohen is not so important over here. He helps out, whatever. But when the Torah says that each and every person has to do tenufa, so each and every person is important. Each one is as important as the other. And if I'm important, my hand has to be touching the animal. And how can I be touching the animal if there's 20 other people there? So since it's impossible, obviously the Torah doesn't care that everybody touches the animal. Says the Gemara, that's why it's impossible. Okay, so each one should do tenufa by himself. Lift it up, put it down, and let the next guy do it. Who says you have to do it together? Says Gemara, because it says tenufa b'rachmana v'lo tenufa, it's lashon yachid. It's done once and not twice. They explain very nicely. It is like a yeshivish style vart that when it comes to tenufa, the tenufa is on the chefza. There's a difference between a gavra and a chefza. The chefza, the animal itself, has to be lifted up. So sometimes it doesn't even matter who lifts it. Maybe the kohen could do it for you. Not everybody has to do it. The animal was lifted up in Shalom Yisrael. But when the mitzvah is in the person, that's smicha. The mitzvah, it's not a mitzvah that the animal should have smicha done to it. It's a mitzvah that each person should do smicha, and that's why you have a difference how many people do it, one or all the partners. You're telling me there's no such thing as smicha when the animal is shechted? Here, it says first that the smicha after the animal dies. So, a kohen gadol has the right to say, I want to do the avodah right now, today. So imagine, I'm just thinking to myself, a typical kohen goes to the Beis Hamikdash to perform the avodah twice a year in his mishmar, and even in his mishmar, his family and this, So finally, you get to do. You're there. You're ready to go. It's that one time a year that you get to do the avodah, and the kohen gadol shows up. Says, sorry guys, me can't say a word. He goes and takes over. So let's say he wants to do the tamid. I'm going to show you the picture. As soon as I show you the picture, remember we had it, not too long ago. By the tamid, there's 13 kohanim that help out. This one carries the leg, and each one that carries, we learned that you don't show the cut where the animal was cut in the butcher shop over there. They place it, so it should look nice. First guy, number one in line, he carries the head and one of the rear legs. The second guy in line carries the 2 feet, the 2 front feet. And that's how, each person carries something. So it says like this. So imagine here they go. The guy in the front, he's carrying a head and 1 foot. Second guy, 2 feet. See how it's positioned next to his body so you don't see the cut. This guy in the back, he's not doing it well. And that's how they walk, 13 guys, up the ramp. So it says the Gemara, it says in the Mishnah, Bizman sha'koyen, let's call it 9 lines from the new parak. Bizman sha'koyen gadol roitze lahaktir, when he decides, right now I'm going to do the tamid, haya oila bakevesh, he would go up the ramp, ba'azgam b'yiminoi. The second in command, the second guy is waiting, not waiting, but if something happens to the kohen gadol, he becomes the kohen gadol. It's kind of steep, so he needs to catch his breath. So the Gana Kohen, he takes him on the right hand, he pulls him up, helps him out. The first guy walking in line, he's holding the head, so he extends it, he gives it over to the Kohen Gadol. What does the Kohen Gadol do? This is the word that's not good for us. Soimer. He does smicha. Smicha on a dead animal. It's a head without a body, right? After he does smicha. So it's a kasha on what we said, that there's no smicha on a dead animal. Next, now the second guy in line, he has the 2 front feet. He gives them, the Gemara calls them hands, he gives them to the first kohen. Nice to the kohen gadol. He gives it to the first kohen, nice to the kohen, and the first kohen gives it to the kohen gadol. So he does smicha, v'zarkan, and the kohen gadol tosses it into the fire. Great. Nice to the kohen gadol. So the second guy doesn't mention the first guy. The second guy gets out of line, goes back home. And all the limbs, the third guy gives to the first gives to the Kohen Gadol, he tosses it in. The third guy goes home. Then the fourth guy gives it to the first guy gives it to the Kohen Gadol. Now, why does the first guy say, I saw that someone explained, I forgot who it is. I think it was more of an achrain kind of thing, that since the first guy, he was supposed to be the main person, and then the Kohen Gadol decided to kick him out. So we let him stay on the Mizbech for as long as he wants, and he's a big performer over there. So, but the Kohen Gadol keeps on doing smicha on every single limb. Smicha, 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 soivach alev zarka. Wizman Shur writes, and if the Kohen Gadol is too weak, he can't. He let somebody else toss it into the fire. Part of you see that the Kohen Gadol does do smicha on a dead animal. So why are you telling me, oh, smicha only tnufa is on a dead animal and smicha not? The Kohen Gadol, it's not really a thing, but we do it just to give honor to the Kohen Gadol, to pretend as if he did the smicha to begin with. He was involved all the way. He did the smicha on this animal. Hadron aloch shtei midos, hadron aloch shtei midos, hadron aloch shtei midos. Zok the Mishnah. Okay, now it's going to get very interesting. Shtei alechem niloishes achas achas v'nefos achas achas. We're done with the Menachos and the smicha. We're moving on to how to make the lechem apanim. It's a very interesting shape. It's a very interesting size. It weighs 12 pounds each bread. Massive breads. How do you do it? What's the procedure? And we're going to see a lot of stuff about the kalim in the Beis Hamikdash. Very, very interesting stuff. Shtei alechem niloishois achas achas. The two breads from Shavuos. Here we go. Two breads of Shavuos. Those two breads, you have to knead them separately. In other words, it's its own dough. Don't mix up doughs here. Don't make a very large dough and then divide it. You make one dough for this lechem, one dough for the second lechem. In the oven, one. You can't put two in the oven. Lechem apanim, the 12 breads that we eat from Shabbos to Shabbos, we put in the shulchan. Same procedure as the shtei lechem when you make them. Each one is made all by itself. But when you bake it in the oven, you put two in the oven. There's a concept. The lechem apanim, you have to put in a mold. The Gemara is going to say 3 molds. So as you make it, you put it in the mold. I'll show you a little video or whatever in a second. Kishu roidan, and when you take it out of the oven, nice non lutfus. You put into another mold. The Mishnah only mentions 2, but the Brisa says it's actually 3. Kedei shaloi yiskalkalu, so that the breads don't fall apart. Let me just show you here. Let's call this a mold. This is as its dough. And then you put it into oven into a separate mold. That mold has, we'll see tomorrow also, it has like holes on the bottom. Also square molds, but holes on the bottom. And then because during the baking process it expands, so you put in a third mold when it's still hot. You don't want it to fall apart when you take it out of the oven. So there's 3 molds. Says Gemara, how do I know about kneading it one by one, putting it in the oven? How do you know these things? The beginning of the Mishnah. The lechem apanim is 2 esroinim. Sorry, we said it's about 2.5 kilo of flour, 2.2. That's what women or men also, we take challah when we have 2.2 kilo, like 5 pounds. So this is double that. 10 pounds per challah. Massive. It's like a chasan of challah. So it says ha'echos. Shnei esroim ha'echos. You make them as one by one. How do you know that each lechem of the 2 lechems of Shavuos, I say lechems, even though the proper way is lechamim, but I'm in America. They don't know what lechamim is. Lechems, sidurs, instead of sidurim. Shav shtei halechem kach. How do you know that you need them individually? Talmud loymar, yeah. It should be like in one place. And how do you know that you bake the lechem aponim tutu. Tamaloymar v'samta oisam. You should place them. Samta is lashon yachid, oisam lashon rabim. You should place one placement of two breads. Maybe you should also do this on Shavuos. Tamaloymar oisam. No, the same word that we used a second ago. We're going to learn a second thing from it. Oisam dafka lechem aponim, but not shtei alechem. As the Gemara, but you can't do that. That's against the rules. The rules are that the rule is that you can only learn one concept, one halacha from each word. You can't learn two. Hayorsam ha'apikte. You already used it to teach me that the lechem aparim you take v'samta oisam, two breads in one oven. Says Gemara, im keilem akrav v'samtam, my v'samta oisam, from the fact that the Torah used two words instead of one word. Shmas minei tarte, you learn two halachas from it. Says the Gemara, Torah Rabbanon, v'samta oisam b'tfus. You should put these breads in a mold. Shloisha tfusim heim. V'samta oisam. You should like put them in. It doesn't say the way they learn it. It doesn't say v'nasato. It says v'samta. So you're putting it in some sort of mold. Shloisha tfusim heim. You should know there's three. Nois l'tfus. Here, this one. Just show it again as I'm talking. So. You put it in while it's still dough. And had a special mold in the oven. And you notice in this mold that in Yoshi's thing here, design, there's holes in it so the heat transfers through. And when he takes it out, he puts it in a third mold, that it shouldn't fall apart. Ask the Gemara, why do you need three? One you put it into, you shape it, and the Rambam says it's made out of gold. Then you put it in the oven. So what's the problem? Use it again. Use the same, when you take it out of the oven, put it in the original one. It says, because once you bake it, it spreads, it rises, it turns, it's a different shape. It's not the same shape, it's not the same size as the original one. Some explain that it comes from the top, like when you make a challah, it goes over. So whatever the pshat is, it does not fit into the original one. Great. Says the Gemara, Itmar, lechem aponim keitzad oisoi. How do you make the lechem aponim? One is a open box. It's a box that exploded. Imagine you have a bomb inside. What's going to happen? The top will fly off and maybe one or two walls. So that's what the lechem aponim looks like. That's the one we're familiar with. Teva prutza looks like this. The one on the left. Now that I'm thinking about it had a little explosion inside, What? After your kids open up the Afikaimim present. Okay, got it. Number 38 in English. Got it. And Sfina Kedes means like a little boat, a speedboat. Literally like a speedboat. So we should remember this for this almond, because that's basically the almond. Ask questions on both. How could it be square? How could it be a speedboat? Different questions. Kimin teva prutza. It's a square, like an Amazon box that was open, no top. Says the Gemara, Kimin teva prutza. Hainu dahavi yasve bezichen. Now, we know that on the shulchan there were 2 spoonfuls of levina. So, if the teva, if the bread is flat, so I could put a cup, I could put whatever I want on the bottom of a flat bread, as so. The problem is, if it's a speedboat, imagine a canoe. Where exactly you're putting a spoon in the canoe? It comes to a point. By the way, Rashi explains that this point, it's like a V, and the bottom is like a half an inch wide. It's the size of a finger, the bottom. So there's no shelf for you to put it. It's going to be like, not a good place to put it. So the Gemara answers, take a look at this. We have to actually create a little bit of a shelf in the bread so that the spoon could sit in there. If it's a box, a square, I could put the bezichin down on it. If it's like a boat, where exactly did the spoon sit? So on each bread, there was a little indentation for this for the bezichin. For the bezichin. So we're really hitting up. We're gonna go after the speedboat shot. At the end, we're gonna have one kash on the square. If you say that it's an open box, hanu dahavi yasvik kanim. Oh, so now check this out. Between each bread, they had half pipes. Take a pipe, cut it down the middle, half a pipe. And on those half pipes, they would lay the second layer of breads. In other words, the breads could actually lay on top of each other, like boxes, like 6 Amazon boxes. That's fine. It works, like 6 shoe boxes. Why not? I've seen it all the time in the warehouse. But they're hot breads. You need the air to flow in between the breads. Otherwise, there'll be too much moisture buildup. So you put these little half straws in there. Here, let me show you. Like this. They had 3 going through each bread. It works well if a bread is a square, so you could put 3 pipes on it. But if a bread is like a speedboat, like a canoe, how exactly is a pipe gonna sit at the end of the canoe? Here. Yeah. It doesn't really work. So you must say that there's an extra piece over there, like a square piece, and it could sit. It's not optimal. It doesn't have the full width of a square bread, but it has more width than just a narrow point. Oh, if the bread is flat, so I understand why I need side posts. We'll call them side posts, snifim. So let's see if we have a good picture for snifim. Okay, so the snifim are, well, over here he's showing it way wider than usual, so it doesn't answer your question right over here. But over here, these walls that go up, what are they doing? They're holding the bread in place. But imagine if you have a canoe, and you put a canoe between 2 walls. What's going to happen to the canoe? It's going to tip over. A straight canoe between 2 walls. Are the walls going to hold it straight? Not necessarily. It's on a point. The bottom goes like this. Here, I'll show you a picture. You're all looking at me like I'm crazy. So over here, the walls hold the bread in place. But over here, the wall does not hold the bread in place. Why? It's going to fall over to one side. Something like that. It's not, what good do the snifim do? That's question number 1. Also, these snifim are not really what the Gemara talks about. We're going to have to see what the Gemara says in a second. Okay. But if it's a boat, how do the snifim, these sidewalls, hold up the bread? Says the Gemara, so basically, the Gemara is saying that there's like a basket or something. How do you describe it? Yeah. Here, like this. Take a look now. There's like, yeah, there is an indentation there for the shape of a boat. You put the boat in there, so it doesn't shake, it doesn't rock from side to side. Says the Gemara, Bishloima, sorry, how did the snifim help the bread at all? The aglu ma'agel, they have a shape to it, like a slot, and the breads fit into the slot. If you say that the bread is like a boat, I understand why you have these side walls. But if you say that the breads are square, snif and lamali, what exactly do walls help square, flat boxes that are on top of each other? They're not going anywhere. It's not holding it in place. They're squares without a wall. Let's see. He did something over here. Here, this one right over here. In other words, the breads are good without the walls. The breads are not moving. Says the Gemara, Agav yukra the lechem, because of the weight of the bread, tolach, they'll break. So in Mela, you need to put the walls. You need to put these. They need to be suspended and not on top of each other, right? Because the weight of the breads, all the breads, 6 breads on top of each other, will crush the bottom ones. So this one is hard to explain a little bit without pictures. I'll try to do my best. If this is the sniff is like an L shape, and this sits on the table. Okay? So where does the bread go? Bread can't go on the L shape. Bread has to be directly on the table. How is the L shape going to fit underneath the bread? It can't. But if it's a boat, so the shape of the boat is like this, so the L shape fits right underneath the boat. Yeah? Are you with me? If this point is the point of the boat. So this part is on the table, and the L bracket fits right underneath the curvature. Yeah? Masking or not masking? Let's see if we could find something here. So this bracket right over here, it's not so good. It's like elevated, but okay. It's not, the bread is still touching the table. Here's the point of the bread, it's on the table. And then the bread has a curvature. So the bread is not disturbing this L bracket. But if you have a flat bread that has to be in this area, how exactly is this going to sit? How is this going to work, this guy? There's some extra pieces over here. Let's see. Let's see how he did it over here. Okay, you can't really see. But, says the Gemara, the answer is that there's no L brackets. If that's your shita, the shita is going to be that they're just directly on the floor. The snifim are just on the floor. They're not under a bread. They're just on the floor. What, they're on the ground? Yes, they're on the ground. You're right. If you hold that the bread is like a boat shape, so then the snifim are on the table because it doesn't really interfere with the bread. The bread has a point. It's a V. But according to Manda Omer that says that it's a box, it's square, snifim agabi, you must say that the snifim are not laying on the table because there's no room for them. There's a bread on the table. So they're on the floor. Oh, so if you notice, the bread actually holds down the walls, and the walls hold the bread in place. They help each other out. Without the bread, the walls will fall backwards, so the bread puts pressure on. But without the walls, the bread will tip over. So each one helps the other. But if the breads are square, so the breads are not on top of the snifim, so they're not holding the snifim in place. The snifim, we said, are on the ground. So the bread is not helping the wall. And what exactly is the wall helping the bread? So therefore, it doesn't go well. The Gemara says, that makes a lot more sense that mandama is going to have to go, that the bread is more of a dancing boat. It's a boat shape, and it helps the snifim, and the snifim help it. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.